for those of you who don't know, I'm Becky Timmons. I'm with Town Planning and Urban Design Collaborative. We're one of the firms that was hired to help the city update their comprehensive plan. We've got a few more team members with us. We have Brian Wright, also with TPUDC. We've got Matt Nooncaster with City Explained. You've probably seen them if you attended the kickoff meeting a few weeks ago. We all should look familiar. What we're doing tonight is going over some of the new tools that we have on the website. We call it our virtual visioning workshop. Typically, we would come and do this in your city and meet with you and do stuff on a table and have stickers and posters and stuff. But with the way that things have been going, we've had to shift over to a more virtual format. So we've built some tools that replicate the types of things that we would normally do in person. And we're going to walk you through those. We are also developing some in-person opportunities. We've taken this entire toolkit and turned it into a to-go packet. So there will also be a printable packet that can be distributed in the city. We're working with city staff to get that into some of the community centers, some of the churches, so that we can distribute them throughout the city, and there will be drop boxes where people can fill them out and leave them there. The city is also going to be doing some in-person events where they'll distribute that information and tell people about the project. I think that the first one will likely be at one of the community centers. So we'll hopefully have some more information about that soon once dates and times are finalized for that. So it's not just online. There will be some different opportunities, but for right now, all of the tools are available online. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you all can see the website. Some of you may have already gone and taken a look at this. We launched it yesterday. We've already done 2 of these presentations. We did an afternoon one yesterday, and then we did a late evening one. So this is our final one. I should start at the main page here so you can see how to get there. So this is the Plan Spartanburg website. I assume everyone here has been there since you signed up for this meeting. If you scroll down, we've got a new page on it called Virtual Visioning Workshop. Click on that. And there, if you scroll down past the information about these meetings, it says ready to participate, and there's a list of exercises that you can do. Now, these are not quick surveys. I wouldn't say this is something that you're going to sit down and go through in 10 minutes. What I've recommended to everybody is maybe bite off a chunk at a time, maybe do 1 a day for the next couple of days, because we'd like people to really be thoughtful about this and maybe talk to their household, maybe talk to other people that they know about some of the issues in Spartanburg, and then help us really understand, because our next big planning event is going to be Planapalooza in about 3 weeks. And during that event, we're going to be kind of honing in on some of the big issues and the topics that we need to address for the comprehensive plan. So we're using this virtual visioning exercise to kind of understand what people's vision for the future of Spartanburg is and what some of the things, the issues and opportunities the city's going to deal with in the next 10 to 20 years. So I'll just walk you through quick. The first exercise here is called Spartanburg Today and Tomorrow. Most of these exercises are on tabs down at the bottom of the page that you can click on. One of them will take you over, this exercise number 5 will take you over to our equity page. We've got a whole separate page about equity because equity is going to be the foundational principle of this project. Not only the process by which the plan is created, but the plan itself. So everything that we put in the plan, all of the recommendations, all of the growth and conservation and development strategies, all need to have equity at their base. So I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to exercise 5. And then the other one, exercise 6, is just a link up here on the right. So looking at exercise number 1, today and tomorrow. What we're asking about here is some of the issues that the city is facing today, and then some of the things that are changing right now that may present new opportunities or new challenges in the future. So the first, once you go past this intro here, this is set up as a survey. So you can tell us about an issue that Spartanburg is facing today. We've also put an option here for you to upload a photo, or if you know about a study that's been done or some specific statistics or something about the city that you want to share with us, you can actually upload that file right there. You can also put links in the text box here. So any information you can share with us to learn more about the city is wonderful. The city has already provided us with a lot of existing studies and background information, but we know that you all are the ones who know the most about your city and are going to be able to share information that we might not otherwise find. So the next thing is, if you have any ideas about how to fix that issue, share those there. And then we go to Spartanburg tomorrow. So this is thinking about a challenge that the city might face in the next 20 years, or an opportunity that the city might have, and how they can best embrace that opportunity or address that challenge. So then you would just submit that. You can go back to the project page. Exercise number 2 is called Connections, and this one is about transportation and connectivity within the city. We want to understand how people get around, some challenges they may have in moving around the city, and what types of transportation methods they use as they are moving around. So the first question is, how do you get around Spartanburg? We've asked people to select the top 2. I think most people are probably going to say that they drive, but you know, there are also people who take the bus, ride bikes, walk, take Ubers, so got all the options. And then just generally, is it easy for you to get around the city? Again, I think for most people, if they have a vehicle, it probably is easy to get around, but I think there are also people who probably have transportation challenges, and some of the things that they need to do on a daily or weekly basis are more difficult for them. So the next one gets into that a little bit more and goes over all the different places that people might go on a regular basis, like doctor's appointments, or to school, or to work, or to church. And then how easy it is for them to get to those places. And maybe by doing this, we can identify some barriers in transportation and some of the ways that we need to try to improve systems and connectivity. So, and then this is the same thing, but asking about the ways people get to those places. And then a list of those places. Are there places that you typically drive to, but you would like to be able to walk or bike to? And one thing I should have mentioned is, to participate in all of these tools, you do have to be registered for the site. And when you register for the site, it asks you what neighborhood you live in. So when you take the survey, especially a survey like this, we'll have the data to see where people live in the city and where they're having a hard time getting to. So we can see if there are any patterns there. And then a couple of questions about what could happen in the future to make it easier or harder for you to get where you need to go, and then how could Spartanburg be better connected so you can move around the city the way that you would like to. So again, this is kind of a combination of collecting both data and ideas. So we're looking to see what you all have seen that have things that have worked in other places that you might want to contribute to this project, or your own ideas. Exercise number 3 is called What's Missing, and this is kind of an open-ended one. We'll go down here to exercise 3. You'll see down at the bottom of some of these pages, because we launched this yesterday, there have already been some contributions, so you can already see what other people have said for some of these. So this one is What's Missing in Spartanburg. I know there's a lot of reasons that people love Spartanburg, but I think there are probably things that people feel are missing and would like to see in the future. And we're not just talking about buildings being built. I mean, it could be things like community events or community organizations, not necessarily something tangible. So this is called a story tool. And the way that you contribute to this is by clicking here, and then you can give us a title. You can give us sort of a heading for the topic that you want to discuss. You can actually complete this multiple times, so you can come back to it if you have another idea later. And then you can write your idea in here. You can use this picture link to insert a picture. You can use this chain link to insert a link to something else. If you've seen something somewhere else, like a really cool, we always say things like rock climbing gyms and stuff like that. But if you've seen something somewhere else that you think would work in Spartanburg, that's a great way to show us your idea. So I can't hit create here because I've not entered anything. It's going to give me an error message, but you'll see down here, some people have made suggestions like an Office of Sustainability, or using sustainability to alleviate poverty. So this one, I think we could get a lot of different ideas. Going over to exercise 4, this one is designed to challenge people a little bit. I know it's very easy for us to think about what we need and want in our city, but sometimes it's hard to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and think about how their life could be impacted. So this one challenges you to think about someone that's different from you in one way or another. We've got some examples here. They could be a different age, a different gender, a different income, a different education level, a different race, have different physical abilities. So think about someone that's different from you. Tell us about them, and then tell us how you think that their quality of life is impacted and some ways that maybe the city could make that better. So again, I can't hit the submit button right now because I don't have anything. Then exercise number 5 is equity. And for this one, we'll go over to our What is Equity page. You could link to it from the list down below as well. And then here we're just trying to understand, what does equity mean to you? It means a lot of things to different people. Again, you can see that people have already been contributing their ideas. Here someone has said equity means accessibility. Inequity is a future shaped by those historically associated with institutional power because of class, gender, racial or ethnic identity, or education. Equality includes action. Equity means transparency. So we're trying to understand what everyone feels equity means in Spartanburg and how Spartanburg can move towards a more equitable future. So I'm going to go back over. Just go back. All right, then our exercise number 6, lend a hand. This one's a little bit of fun, and this one is great if you've got kids at home or you work with organizations that have kids. This one's kind of a family-friendly one. And that's a link up here on the right. It's a lend a hand art contest. And what it is, as soon as I get it to load, is just a big hand. And we've asked everyone to write, draw, paint, collage, however you'd like to represent your vision of the future of Spartanburg, put it in this hand. Down below, we've got different age groups. So you would check off what age group you're in, and then we're going to have some prizes for the best ones. I'm not sure yet if we'll vote on them or if we'll have a team choose the winners, but we're going to use these in the plan itself. We'd also like to have a visual representation of all of these hands. So we're looking at a place to put them, maybe at City Hall, where they can all be hung up and people can come see them, and really have a visual representation of how many hands helped to create this plan. So that should be a fun one. That one you can print. You don't have to do all of these. If you just work with an organization of kids or have kids, you can just have them do this part. But I think kids could really understand a lot of these exercises. So I think it could be a family-friendly thing to do. And then our final one is exercise 7. So it's the tab down here at the bottom. And this one's sort of a catch-all for everything else. If there's something that you've not contributed in these previous exercises, this is where we're looking for additional big ideas for the project. And I've said here that there's no measuring tape, so even a little idea could end up being a big idea. So that's a place where you can just throw out something miscellaneous that you think would be a good idea for Spartanburg in the future. So, like I said, these aren't intended to all be done at once. We'd love for people to do them all for sure, but take your time. Definitely share them. If you know people who also want to have a say in the future of Spartanburg, make sure to forward this link around and tell people to get involved. We've definitely had a good turnout for these meetings, but I want to make sure that there's that the word is being spread and everybody knows that this is going on. So with that, we have plenty of time for questions, or if people want to start sharing some of their big ideas or talking about some of these topics, that would be great.
This is Alyssa Duncan. If we have multiple things we'd like to enter, like issues or ideas for like the first, I think it was the first exercise, would you prefer that we enter them separately as separate ideas or separate issues?
I'll have to check and see if this one is set up. I believe they're all set up so that you can contribute multiple times. I will double check to make sure that that's the case. Actually, I can probably look at that quickly right now. I'll look into that. If anyone else has a question or something in the meantime, or if you had a different question, I'll look while we're talking.
I think Becky, maybe what she meant too was like when you say, I want to enter a question or an idea, do you say one question, submit, and then another question? Can you put them all into one box? Is that maybe?
Yeah, you can list them all. I'm not sure what the text, the character capacity is of that box. So that's what I'm going to look at right now. I think I set it up for long answers, which I believe are at least 500 characters. Yeah, looks like it's set up for a long response. So I think you can put in as many as you would like.
Thank you.
Sure.
You have some now off the top of your head you want to share with us?
No, it takes me a while to reflect and think and plan.
It was fun during the first two meetings yesterday because I had my email open on a separate screen and I get a notification every time something's submitted to the website. So it was fun seeing the names pop up in my email and also seeing them on my screen. So I knew people were doing it right away. So no pressure. Nobody has to do it right away. We'd rather talk to you in this time.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you hear me, Becky?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, good. This is Wesley Hammond. One question I have is, did any of y'all go to the city council meeting last night? From town?
No.
Okay.
No.
That was an opportunity missed, in my opinion. I mean, I think this.
What was on the agenda?
Oh gosh, they signed the equity agreement for the city. There were just a lot of people
Wonderful.
there from different neighborhoods that y'all could have maybe gotten on the agenda and let people know about this. Ruth Littlejohn, city council person, also had a meeting of her group the week before where there were about 50 people there from her neighborhood, and they discussed an apartment project in her neighborhood and possibility of a grocery store, which are very much discussed issues. So I like this report. I think the way y'all got this set up is really good. You got to be pretty sophisticated on the computer to do some of this, and I'm wondering how you're going to reach out to older people, if there'll be something at the public library, or if you'll go to some retirement homes or something and help people negotiate this that might need some help.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about a little bit at the beginning. We've actually created a printable packet. I had it open a minute ago. I could actually show it to you all. But we've got all of these exercises in a packet where you can write your answers in there. And then the idea is going to be for city staff to go out in the community. They're looking at some dates and times to go to at least one of the community centers to get people to come there so that they can hand them out, explain them to people, and help them understand how it works. Martin may have more information about that. I know they were still working on that.
Yes, we're still working on it. We do share the information with council, and we're working on providing a monthly council update of our comprehensive plan process. Right now, it's on the monthly agenda of the Planning Commission. We're sharing report to them on a monthly basis as well.
Yep. And also, Becky, we have the on the table packets.
Yes, I should have mentioned that as well. Let me go back to the website real quick.
One other thing, we have a couple of groups that are scheduling meetings. The chamber is scheduling several of their meetings with their members to have conversations, table topic conversations about a comprehensive plan as well.
And we have neighborhood ambassadors who are going out and doing outreach in their own neighborhoods as well. And that's all, that's not, online or anything like that.
Right, can you all see my screen again?
Yep.
The website, okay. Down at the bottom here, we've got something called On the Table. And what that is basically a meeting to go. So you can download a host packet here if you'd like to have a meeting of your friends, family, coworkers, neighbors. If there are specific topics that you want to talk about related to the plan, you don't have to have any knowledge of planning to do this. It kind of gives you all of the information you need. All you need is either a place, or if you want to do it virtually, to set up a Zoom or a Facebook meeting or something like that, so that you can hold one. It's got some information about how to kind of start your conversation. And then if you scroll through here, there's some general conversation starters, like what would you say if you were bragging to someone about Spartanburg? What are your hopes for Spartanburg now and in the long term? Let's choose an issue and talk more specifically about it. And then on the next page, we've actually got some more conversation starters that are more topical, related to transportation, community character, housing, growth and development, economy, equity, and open space and natural areas. So if there's a particular topic of interest to you and a group that you know, you can focus on just one topic, or you can have a more broad meeting and talk about all of them. But again, this helps kind of get out into the community a little bit better, because we have somebody who volunteers to host this and kind of communicate on our behalf and give the information back to us.
Martin, this is Tammy. How is, because you guys have such a great social media presence, how are you guys tying this in with the city's social media efforts? Because I know Chris does a great job with the city council meetings and just all the podcasts and everything.
So Christopher George, who is, works in our marketing department, is doing all of the social media process for the city regarding our comprehensive plan. And I think he just recently did a podcast regarding the comprehensive plan, maybe last week or earlier this week. I'll need to check to see if it's been posted, but he's having conversations about that as well. So we're hoping that we can have a variety of media to get this information out to the public. We did want to plan an event this weekend. However, we probably will have to schedule it for some other time. We do want to do outreach other than electronically. What we've heard a lot of is that we need to do more in-person kinds of meetings, because there are certain groups, minorities, the elderly, and children, they may not be involved in this process virtually.
Okay, great. Thanks, Martin. Just we want to be a resource if we can to share, so we'll definitely share.
Brian actually just made a good point. He shot me a message here. We have such a small group. It would be nice if we all introduced ourselves, since I can see most everybody, and it sounds like everyone has a specific interest in the future of Spartanburg.
Hi,
I'll go in order my screen. There's a couple of you that joined late, so I'll introduce myself real quick. I'm Becky Timmons with TPUDC. I'm one of the consultants. I've also got Matt Nooncaster from City Explained, and Brian Wright, also from Town Planning and Urban Design Collaborative. So we're 3 consultants. And then the next person on my screen is Wesley, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Sure, I'm Wesley Hammond. I've been involved with this to hire y'all. I was on the group that interviewed different groups to put this plan together, and have been involved with it since. And I live in Converse Heights, and I'm the chairman now of the Citizens Advisory Council, which is made up of the neighborhoods that are registered with the city.
Great, thank you. Then I've got Alyssa.
Hey, my name is Alyssa Duncan, and I'm with Partners for Active Living, the Spartanburg Food System Coalition, and Eat Smart, Move More Spartanburg County. We're all kind of wrapped up under PAL's umbrella.
Great. Oh, sorry. Then I've got Doug.
Doug Gregory with One Spartanburg Incorporated, or One Spartanburg Inc., and I do data and research.
Then I have Pam down there.
Hey, my name's Pam Maggio, and I work in children's services at the County Public Library, at the headquarters library downtown. And I'm glad,
great.
I'm glad to see Alyssa there. There's a project that we kind of wanted to do, but it doesn't work for our land. So we want to do a story walk, and so I don't know, it seemed like something that could add to Spartanburg, the community. But it's great to see everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. Martin next.
Martin Livingston with the city of Spartanburg.
Okay. Then Tammy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tammy Hoy Hawkins. I'm the director here at Community Works. We are a nonprofit financial institution that supports financing affordable housing and small businesses and working with underserved, under-resourced populations, and in particular minority and women businesses, and focused on affordable housing, and worked for 7 years in the North Side neighborhood. So personally have a passion for Spartanburg and of course our work at Community Works and wanting to be a resource. So kind of trying to follow along with what's happening and be also help to get the word out as well, as I was sharing with Barton. So
Great. I've got Linda down there.
Hi, I'm Linda Miller, and I listened in yesterday.
Yeah. Thanks for coming back.
Uh-huh.
And then I have Sean.
Hello, I'm Sean Parker. I run a nonprofit in Spartanburg called Hope Ministries of the Upstate, in which we partner with Miracle Hill to help homeless men to get back on their feet. So I'm very concerned about our homeless population in the Spartanburg area.
Great, thank you. Well, we have a very well-connected group of people here. So I think between all of us, we can definitely spread the word to even more people about this project and get even more feedback on these tools. So I encourage everybody to hop on your email when you're done with this and tell them about the meeting you just attended, and that they will be able to watch a video of this. We're recording this right now, and we'll post a video of it so that people can see it for themselves as well.
When you're talking to people and letting them know about what's going on, you know, really the short version of how to describe what this, you know, Plan Spartanburg is, you know, we are writing the plan for the future of the city. This is determining the direction for the future of the city and covering everything from, you know, transportation to economics to housing to, you know, the environment to, you know, as Becky said earlier, equity is the sort of the cornerstone for all of this. And so because, you know, most people aren't involved in planning and don't look at comprehensive plans, certainly for other cities, much less their own often is the case. What you need to know is that this is the first time in the country, in the history of the country, that a comprehensive plan with equity as its foundation has ever been written. And so this is a big deal. And it will probably be, you know, really, you know, get a lot of notoriety and attention nationally. And so the more people that we can have participate in the process, and the more voices and the more handprints we can have on this thing, the better off the plan's going to be. And the more everybody's going to feel like they're a co-author of this plan. Because, you know, we're not from around here. We're not from around Spartanburg. You know, I'm in Nashville, right outside of Nashville and Franklin. Becky's in Rochester, New York. Matt's in Charlotte, North Carolina. You know, we don't know Spartanburg like you all know it. And so we count on the community, the citizens, to really be a team member with us as we're doing these projects, and to really just guide us, and also to hold us accountable, to make sure that we are working with you to write a plan that is Spartanburg, that isn't just something else that, you know, we did in West Fargo, North Dakota, or, you know, who knows where, other places we work. We have to make sure that this plan reflects your, you know, who you are as a community, the character of the city, you know, what it looks like and feels like, what you want it to be like in the future, you know, addressing, you know, issues and concerns, and incorporating your hopes and dreams and aspirations. And so it's a really big deal, and you don't get to do comprehensive plans very often in the city. So just make sure that, you know, when you're telling people, like, you say it like it's something, you know, like you mean it, like you've got to come, you don't understand. And even, you know, if it's you're talking to somebody who is, you know, elderly, you know, they say, well, you know, like, well, it's a plan for the future. What does that mean for me? You say, well, hopefully some of this stuff is going to happen soon enough. But other things, you know, you really think about your kids and your grandkids. It's really the plan for their future as well. And so that's why that exercise Becky talked about putting yourself in someone else's shoes, that type of thinking becomes important, no matter who you are or where you are in your life. Or so anyway, it's really important, and we're so thankful that you're here today. But we just want the numbers to grow and grow and grow as we go through this process.
Does anyone else have questions or big ideas?
I had another quick thought about public input and the thinking about the future. High school children or high school students. Have y'all done input with high school students before, or is there a way that we could get this out to the high schools? I thought about the colleges too, and we do have a lot of students who are from here that go to college here, so that's another potential group of folks to reach out to. But and I would be happy to do a little bit of that work, getting it out there to folks if there's some way that works.
That's great. Yeah, we have, as part of the beginning of this project, we developed a community outreach and engagement plan that included a list of stakeholders. And so a lot of those schools were on our stakeholder list. I think in some cases, the challenge for us is just to find who the contacts are and who's willing to spread the word. So that's good. Thank you for being willing to help with that.
And one of the things that we often will do is, make sure that all the teachers and things understand what's going on, and actually try to encourage them to do as one of their, part of their lesson, actually teach about it. We can give them information about what is a comprehensive plan and all that. Maybe have them tune into the kickoff session or something like that, and then have the students go through an exercise where they're actually giving input, the teacher's collecting it, and then that gets sent to us. That kind of stuff is really helpful. And then, always extra credit, giving kids extra credit for showing up at events or participating. That works well too. So
I was actually just going to say, I wonder if there is a way we could get kids to get extra credit for filling out this virtual visioning exercise. If that's something that they could do in the classroom, or just, demonstrate that they did it online and get some extra credit for it.
Now, forget extra credit, just make it a mandatory assignment. That's part of your grade.
Well, let's give teachers some grace right now. I know people are struggling to teach virtually, and let's not make their jobs too much more difficult.
I've got one kind of procedural question. How do you measure this based on the size of Spartanburg, to know that you've got a reasonable amount of input? How many returns or how much participation, how would you measure that to say that, yeah, we've got enough, this is a plan that represents the different groups in Spartanburg?
Oh, Brian, you're muted.
So that's a good question, and it actually comes up a lot. What we found is, it's kind of interesting. We've done so many projects in so many, cities, big cities, small towns, everything in between. And what we found is if we can get about 10 people who didn't all show up together, who basically don't know each other or necessarily, and sort of have a different, maybe different ways of thinking. Once we get at least 10 people that have a different perspective, different background, and you ask those people, what are they looking for? What are their issues? What are the concerns? Then all of a sudden, once you get to about the 11th person, you start hearing the same things again. It's really remarkable. And so you would say, how in the world could you possibly write a plan with only 10 people? I say I don't love doing that, because we actually feed off of the energy of the community and the ideas and inspiration, the small moments of somebody tells you something that you didn't hear. But as far as the big issues go that need to be addressed and the big ideas, those things tend to come up a lot. Now, that said, it varies from city to city how much participation you get. We can use the same exact process and create the same outreach materials and have it distributed equally, and people will come. You'll have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and you may do the same exact thing in another city and you'll get 10 people to show up. And so what you find is, and we as consultants, our scope is to create materials, to create a process and an opportunity for people. The city, you know, spreads the word, and the citizens do as well. And then all we can do is create those opportunities for people to seize or not. And so what we've realized is that we can't ever judge a process or a plan based on the number of participants, because there's so many variables that are out of anyone's control. So all we can do is really just implore and stress the importance of it. Find it, you know, I mean, that said, over the years, every time we do a project, we're adding to this list of strategies to get people to show up and participate. And so no matter what, though, I mean, even, I don't know, Matt and I were actually talking about this yesterday, and or maybe it was early this morning, and, you know, looking at, Matt, tell about the project with the $1 million outreach budget.
So, yeah, well, you all may know part of it because it was called Connect Our Future. And it was up the 14 counties on both sides of the state line and the Metrolina region. It was the Catawba Regional COG. And we actually included Union County in South Carolina. So we're getting really close to you all. And as part of that, it was a $4.9 million HUD grant, so a federal grant. And as part of it, there was about $1 million that got earmarked for public engagement and public involvement in a metropolitan area that, you know, has anywhere from 1.5 to 2 million people, depending how you measure it. And we spent all kinds of money and did all kinds of new and creative things. And in the end, at least for the scenario planning component, which I was in charge of, and that's basically just looking at multiple futures side by side to make sure you feel confident about which one you choose. As part of that, we ended up getting about 6,900 people who participated, which sounds like a really big number. But when you compare it to the denominator of over 1 million people, you would be disappointed. And so in a lot of ways, the way we tried to measure success is not in the sheer number, but looking at the different just segments of the population and trying to make sure we got to all of those segments. So one thing, it could be age, race, gender. I mean, we could go down the whole list of all the different ways you want to describe your community. And we just try to make sure those interests are represented in the engagement process. But you know, sheer numbers is not always the best way to measure it. It's the quality, not the quantity. And that's really what we try to hit on.
Yeah. And you think about the old way plans used to be written, there was no such thing as public input. You just basically, the consultants went away in their secret laboratory and wrote a plan. The planning departments would, you know, sign off on it. That looks good to us. Then it'd show up on a, you know, planning commission agenda. Maybe some people heard about it and they participated. Then it goes on, you know, and all of a sudden now you have this plan for the future. And so thankfully we don't do it that way anymore. We've come such a long way. And for us, one of the things, if you remember from our interview, that we focus so much on is that public participation, and, you know, we get a lot out of it. But you can never have too many people, and within a small, you know, some small number of people, you can not have too few either. So.
I have a question. Y'all speaking outreach, and I deal with a bunch of men throughout the years, and one of my biggest obstacles is, number one, finding them a job if they have a record. Number two, transportation to work, and number three is affordable housing. In each one of these areas, you know, I deal with people who have made mistakes and need a second chance. Now I have had a large group of businessmen that will hire my guys, but in this plan, could we get more business people to understand that people do make mistakes and they need a second chance, and our city need transportation. And if you have a record, it's hard to get into housing, even affordable housing. So these are some of the walls that I run into on a day-to-day basis. So I want to know what your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that, Sean. Yeah, one of the things that is so great about working on a comprehensive plan is that you get to think about everything, you know, all the aspects of the city. It's comprehensive. And so, you know, because we'll be looking at transportation and housing and jobs and employment, all of those things will be thought about. And the thing that's great, this is a perfect example of why it's you know, the community input is really helpful for us, because to hear that, you know, it just really brings it to the forefront in our minds, is like, oh yeah, that's something that we need to really make sure we're focused on. You know, it's something that when we're looking at increasing, you know, housing options, and we're looking at affordability, and we're looking at, you know, making transportation, you know, not everybody, you know, we know not everybody has access to an automobile. So how do we, you know, make people be able to get around better, and then, you know, do things that enhance the economics of the city so that there are more jobs. Some of those things might be addressed sort of just because of the bigger things that we're addressing. But because you bring it up in this context, it helps us to start to think like, oh yeah, that's a great point. And so as we're talking about a plan like this that's based on equity as a foundation, we start thinking about, hey, you know, there's this issue that Sean told us about, you know, as we're thinking about creating jobs, creating housing, creating, you know, all that stuff. Now that the city together, everybody's part, and that's part of the reason, more so than even the input, back to Wesley's comment, more so than even the input from a greater number of people, but having a greater number of people be a part of the plan makes them want to be a part of the solutions for the future. And so now if we have people at a meeting, they hear Sean say this, and we're talking about, oh, we're going to increase transportation, we're going to, you know, deal with housing, all that, and don't forget, you know, Sean's reminded us that sometimes people make mistakes, haven't we all? And so how do we make sure that when we're thinking about it, we're creating more opportunities for housing, and we're making sure that the barriers for housing is, you know, are not as steep for people who you know, have maybe held up by their past. So we'll be addressing all that, and you know, just kind of keeping on reminding us of things like that, Sean, and anybody else who has those kind of specific anecdotes and things that they run into in their day-to-day life or their jobs or whatever. That'll be helpful for us to hear, because it really just helps us make sure we put it on the list. So thank you.
Anyone else have any questions or things you want to discuss?
That reminded me of, I think it was a transit study from a few years ago. And I know that there was a more recent transit study done for the city, for Sparta, and I haven't read that yet. But about, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, there were folks that were saying about transit that there are motels in Spartanburg where folks are living, and some of them are out on Heron Circle. I know one of them's been condemned, but I don't know about the others. And so folks that are out there, Sparta didn't go all the way out there. And so people were having a hard time getting to jobs from Heron Circle and other motels where Sparta wasn't going. I mean, I know that's an age-old issue. Transit is so expensive to provide. But that's just one specific thing that I remember being an issue that I do not know if it's been addressed recently or not.
Yeah.
Can I piggyback off of that before you say anything, sir?
Sure.
She's so right. Our transit system starts at 6 and I believe ends at 6. That's very hard. Now I run 2 vans up and down the road every day for my guys, and it's hard. So I couldn't imagine if we didn't have those vans, how I would get my guys to work. It's a big gap. You go in other cities, you know, most buses at least stay running until 10, but 6 o'clock is very early. And I'm not, and don't get me wrong, the city has been doing a great job, but it's still a big issue. Because if a person get a job and they can't get there, or the bus don't come in their neighborhood, I mean, now that puts them right back in that funk that they was in, and then most of them just give up. And I think our goal here is to try to make it easy and more accommodating for our people to be successful in their dysfunctional areas, you know. So that is she brings out a very good point.
Yeah, no, that is true. And, you know, when you think about things like transportation, and we're trying to figure out, you know, sort of when it comes to equity as a foundation of a plan, you know, how does equity tie into all of these things? You know, Becky said earlier that everything in the plan would be about equity. I think a different way to say it would actually be that everything that we're doing in the plan would be sort of viewed through the lens of equity to make sure that there's equitable approaches and solutions to it. So there's more to the plan. Some things may just be, you know, for fun and frivolous and all that, just to add to quality of life in the city, and not have necessarily an equity component to it. But we need to be looking at each of the things that we're doing and the recommendations and the sort of aspects of the plan to make sure that we've hit all the topics. And so here, you know, a lot of times people talk about transportation, and you hear people say, oh, you know, I wish we had you know, better bus service, or I wish we had a trolley, or, you know, light rail or something. And a lot of times people think of it as like, oh, well, you know, that's just, you know, somebody's wish list. So they wish that they could, you know, get into, you know, Greenville on the weekends and ride the light rail, or whatever the case may be. And, but really, you know, thinking about, well, some people, it's not just like a fun thing or a luxury, it's like a necessity. And so really starting to think about, okay, well, while it might have a cost associated with it to extend the service of a transportation entity, like a bus or whatnot, what is the cost then that it's costing the city to provide services or whatever to somebody who now can't have a job because they don't have a way to get there? And so there's like this cost benefit kind of an analysis you have to look at. And you start thinking, you know, well, yeah, this is expensive, but maybe this other thing we're doing that we don't seem to mind spending money on is more expensive. And so thinking through all that together holistically is where it all comes together, which is the beauty of a comprehensive plan. What do you think?
We got a little more time if anybody else has anything they want to share or talk about.
Pam, Linda, anybody? You guys want to share any thoughts? Putting you on the spot.
That's okay. Well, like I said, we encourage everybody to go take advantage of those tools. Definitely spread the word. It sounds like everybody here is involved in some sort of an organization. So please make sure if you're sending out an email to a whole bunch of people, please add a link to the website and tell them a little bit about the project. That would be very helpful.
Or even send out a special email just about this.
Well, yeah. So we appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you again at more of these events.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.